Hi, good evening. This is the third installment of Classic.Hakdamot. It is Tuesday, November 17th, the 6th of Kislev, and I am going to be talking tonight about Rashbam's commentary to the Torah. I felt that it was appropriate to give Rashbam's commentary to the Torah as sort of a sequel to Rashi's, as we're going to see. One of Rashbam's main influences in preparing a commentary to the Torah is his response to his grandfather Rashi's commentary, and how he interfaces with Rashi is really a major part of his project, something that obviously requires much further study beyond what we can cover here in the discussion of really his introduction to his commentary. So with that, just to introduce Rashbam, he's Rashi's oldest grandson. He's in some sense, transition point between Rashi's school of thought in Talmud study into the period of the Tosfot. His younger brother, Rabbeinu Tam, Rabbi Yaakov Tam, becomes one of the predominant Tosafists, and his approach really is the most innovative. But for Rashbam is a transition between Rashi's more straightforward approach to Talmud and then the study of the Tosfot, which was much more analytic and much more discursive. Rashbam's commentary to the Torah is really an attempt, even more than Rashi, to draw out the idea of the pshat. We saw last time with Rashi's discussion there about the significance of pshat, even in contrast or in pairing with the midrashic understanding of the text. Rashbam almost entirely does not mention midrash at all, and the entire goal of his commentary is to bring the pshat, especially in ways that he thinks Rashi messed up the interpretation of the pshat, and he brings his commentary to correct Rashi or to debate with Rashi. One of the main works on Rashbam's commentary, and one which I've used quite a bit, is Martin Lakshan's translation of Rashbam's commentary, which includes extensive explanatory notes and introductions and essays about the significance of Rashbam, his worldview, his interpretive style, and particularly his response to Rashi. Professor Lakshan notes with some statistical analysis that actually 75% of Rashbam's comments are in direct dispute with Rashi's comments. So to a certain extent, it really seems to be in a clear dialogue with Rashi's commentary. And he argues even up to 84% of Rashbam's commentary is at least somewhat in dialogue with Rashi. So really making clear that Rashbam isn't writing his commentary in a vacuum. He knows Rashi's commentary. He learned with his grandfather, as we're going to see. He also notes the significance of Rashi's commentary, even towards the end of Rashi's lifetime, and certainly in the generations afterward. Rashi's commentary, even in manuscript form, became popular around Europe and even spread around the Jewish world. I know within a few generations it reached the Sephardic communities of North Africa, Spain, and really spread like wildfire. For whatever reason, Rashi's commentary became particularly central and important and popular. Rashbam's commentary did not fare so well. I think it only existed in one manuscript, and that manuscript actually ended up being lost at one point. Probably there were earlier manuscripts as well, but one that survived into the period of printing press. And then from there, printed editions contain many different corruptions and different editions. There's a lot more to be said about that. But really, the point of Rashbam's commentary is to note the significance of Rashi. In certain places, he tells you, if you want the interpretation of this, there's no good pshat, but look in Rashi to see what the Midrash says. And Rashbam sees his mission as, to a certain extent, correcting Rashi's attempt at the pshat. Again, from Professor Lakshan's notes, he says, the whole point of Rashbam's commentary is, on the one hand, drawing on the influence of Rashi, the significance of Rashi, and the fact that Rashi had been a trailblazer, Rashbam can follow in his footsteps. He uses Rashi to a certain extent in his justification to say, on the one hand, Rashi said, it's important to learn pshat, it's important to revive the study of the pshat of the Torah, the plain meaning of the text, rather than its midrashic, rabbinic interpretation from the period of the rabbis of the Talmud and the Mishnah going back, and really which was the primary mode of understanding the Torah's text. And Rashi, at least in part, was part of an innovation in the 11th and 12th centuries to really revive or jumpstart the study of the pshat. And Rashbam says, once Rashi started the ball rolling, I can jump in and pick up where he left off and actually correct his mistakes or supplement his omissions. what Professor Lakshan sort of says as if in Rashbam's voice, since Rashi could do it, so may I. And since Rashi did not do it as well as he should have, I will do it better. So on the one hand, responding to the fact that Rashi is his justification, Rashi laid the groundwork for him, and he is standing on the shoulders of his grandfather, and at the same time noting the fact that he does have many disagreements with Rashi's interpretations, both with Rashi's giving significance to the Midrash in his commentary. We mentioned last two times really, the fact that Rashi sees a dipolar significance to both the Pshat and the Midrash. For Rashbam, he's really only concerned with his Pshat interpretations, at least in part because he feels Rashi has already brought you the significant Midrashim, perhaps, and at the other hand, to really take the chance to disagree with Rashi. Taking a look at Rashbam's commentary to Breshit, right at the beginning, chapter 1, Rashbam lays out his project, not really in a formal introduction, but really in an introductory paragraph. And Rashbam says, right in the words Breshit bara Elohim, Yavinu hamaskilim, ki kol direi rabotenu v'drashotehem kenim ve'amitim. Every word of the rabbis' drashot, the rabbis' midrashim, are correct and true. He, of course, has to preface it with this introduction to say, I'm not rejecting the midrash, I'm not trying to supplant the midrash. He's saying, I'm not a Karaite, I don't think that the significance of the Torah is only in its literal meaning. However, V'zehu ha'amur b'Masechet Shabbat, ve'avina bar tamnei sarishnin v'lo yadana te'ein mikra yotzei midei pshuto. This is the same Gemara that Rashi quoted from Masechet Shabbat, page 63a. The idea from Rav Kahana that a person could be fully versed in rabbinic text even until the age of 18 years old and had never having learned the idea that ein hamikra yotzei midei pshuto, that the text does not depart from its literal meaning. What this piece of Gemara actually means in context is a topic for a longer discussion, but that was the source that Rashi used as his justification for studying the Pshat, and it becomes, again, Rashbam's justification as well. And Rashbam, we know Rashbam from studying Tosfot. We know that Rashbam is a Talmudist of the highest caliber. We know that Rashbam sees great significance in rabbinic exegesis and takes it very seriously. But in his commentary to the Torah, he says, yes, I know there are midrashim, and I know that they're important. That's just not what I'm doing here. They're very important. Study them on your own time. If you're studying Rashbam's commentary, if you're studying my commentary, you're here for the pshat. Ein hamikra yotzei midei pshuto. The text does not depart from its plain meaning. The text has a plain meaning. That's what I'm here for. To get the midrash, go next door. Go study Rashi. Go study the midrashim. Go study Talmud. And he says further, ve'ikar ha'halachot v'hadrashot yotzi'in miyitur hamikraot o mishinui halashon shenichtav pshuto shel mikra b'lashon sheyecholim le'umod himenu ikar hadrasha. The entire purpose of the Torah text is written in such a way to convey the midrashic meaning. Almost to a certain extent, the primary purpose of the Torah is actually the drash. This is, in a certain sense, his apology for taking such a strong commitment to the pshat, is to say, really, the whole point of it is halacha, the whole point of it is drashot, the whole point of it is rabbinic exegesis. But by the way, I have to tell you, there is this pshat, it's important, it may be of secondary significance. Whether he really thinks that or not is a separate question. For sure, Rashbam takes great lengths to argue about the midrashic and rabbinic understandings as well, particularly in Tosfot and his Talmud commentaries. Here he's concerned with pshat, and so although the purpose of the text, the anomalies in the text, the extra letters, the extra spellings and different things that are used by the rabbis to learn out all of the different halachot and all of the different midrashim, Rashbam says, that's not my purpose here. That may be the primary meaning of the Torah even, but it's not what he's studying here. And so on the one hand, he's defending himself from his main critics who will say, what are you? You're just coming to say pshat. You're just coming to say the literal meaning of the text. You're some kind of a Karaite. You're some kind of a literalist. And he'll say, no, of course I believe in the midrashic interpretation. Of course I believe in the rabbinic understanding. But I have to preface it. I have to say, yes, that's important. It's not my project here. And that's really an interesting point to note that, similarly to Rashi, Rashbam is able to simultaneously hold as significant both the midrashic interpretation, the rabbinic interpretation, as well as the pshat. He doesn't feel the need to choose one or the other as significant. He can see them both as, like we saw with Rashi's comments about the stone that can be shattered into multiple shards. The text of the Torah can carry many meanings at one time. It's multivocal. It has omni-significance to a certain extent, or multi-significance. The text can convey many meanings, and each of them is significant, each of them is important, and his project is to tell you the pshat. The comments of Rashbam to Breshit Perek Aleph, the first chapter of Genesis, are in some editions omitted, at least in part, because the different editions are copying from different printed versions of previous generations, or different versions of manuscript editions and different notes and things like that. These are taken from the best edition that I'm aware of. However, perhaps more familiar than Rashbam's commentary to chapter 1 are his comments in chapter 37 in Breshit Lamed Zayin. And here, right at the beginning of Parashat Vayeshev, Rashbam tells almost the backstory, the history of how he decided to write his commentary to the Torah, and it's almost a beautiful window into what life must have been like in Rashi's household. We'll see that Rashbam describes his relationship with his grandfather in really a beautiful way. So he says, Yaskilu v'yavinu ohave seichel. Those who love reason and they want to understand, they should understand what? Shekol shelimedunu rabotenu ki ein mikra yotzei midei pshuto. The text does not depart from its plain meaning. The rabbis have taught us this already in the Gemara. This is the proof text that he and Rashi are using both to justify their commitment to the pshat. Af ki ikara shel Torah bat lamdenu lohodienu remizat hapshat hahagadot v'hahalachot. The whole purpose, the main purpose of Torah is to convey through the hints in the text, to tell us the halachot, to tell us drashot, v'hadinim, and the laws. This is the purpose of Torah. Nonetheless, bracketing that, of course, we have to note Rashi's first comment in his commentary to the Torah. Rashi asks the question from the Midrash Tanchuma, why doesn't the Torah start with the first mitzvah? The first mitzvah is HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, the commandment to keep the new month and to create a calendar. And Rashi says, if the Torah's whole purpose is to convey laws, then why don't we just start with the first law in the Torah, which is already in Sefer Shemot. We wouldn't need the whole Sefer Breshit at all. So that's Rashi's first comment there. Rashi gives his answer, Ramban disagrees, and Ramban gives a very different answer. So here Rashbam, to a certain extent, saying, yes, the whole significance of the Torah is halachot. Yes, I'm the Rosh Yeshiva, I'm the Bal HaTosfot, I'm the one who cares all about Talmud, all about Midrash Halacha, and at the same time Rashbam says, yes, that's the significant part, that's the most important part, but the rabbis also told us Pshat is important. So he says, and the ways we learn out those halachot are al yedei shloshim u'shtayim midot shel Rabbi Eliezer beno shel Rabbi Yossi Haglili. They're the 32 methods of Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Yossi Haglili, who had one interpretive tradition with 32 different interpretive hermeneutics, 32 different rules for taking psukim and deriving from them halachic conclusions, or connecting halachic conclusions to the text of the Torah. And perhaps more well known, al yedei shloshes midot shel Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Yishmael, of a different interpretive school, had only 13 rules. Perhaps it's an interesting exercise to try to point out some of the different hermeneutic attempts throughout the Talmud to see who follows whose school, who uses these 32 more expansive rules of understanding text, who uses the 13 rules of Rabbi Yishmael. Certain of the hermeneutics are used much more commonly than others. And Rashbam here now has to explain how is it that if Pshat was important, if the rabbis of the Talmud said that Pshat was important, how is it that for perhaps the last 800 years, very few people have been interested in Pshat at all? Rashi didn't exactly deal with this question. Rashi perhaps had that question in the back of his mind, as if to say, why am I the first one doing this? So Rashbam also has to ask this question, and he says, V'harishonim, the first generations, the earlier generations who come before me, why did they not study the Pshat the way that I'm interested in? He said, Mitoch chasidutam, out of their great piety, nit asku lintot achar hadrashot shenikar. They spent most of their time studying drashot because that's the whole point, that's the whole purpose. That's the whole purpose of the Torah, is to study drashot. Again, he's being very respectful to earlier generations. Mitoch kach lo hurgelu be'omek pshuto shel mikra. They didn't spend much time studying the Pshat because if their whole purpose and their whole drive in life, in their study of Torah, was to be studying the drashot, then they had no real reason to be studying the Pshat, or they perhaps didn't focus any time of theirs on the Pshat. And the rabbis said in the Talmud that you shouldn't spend so much time for your children to teach them studying from the biblical text. Rather, you should kind of push them through quickly from the biblical text into studying Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral Torah, the Talmud, the Midrashim. And further, they said, Ha'osek b'mikra midah ve'ina midah. One who studies the Torah text has both positive and negative values. However, Ha'osek b'Talmud ein lecha midah gdola mizo. There's nothing better than studying Talmud, and to a certain extent, this is the view adopted later by Rabbeinu Tam, Rashbam's younger brother, when Rabbeinu Tam discusses the the halachic principle that a person should divide the time spent studying Torah between three different types of study, between studying Mikra, Bible text, between studying Mishnah, and between studying Talmud. Whatever Talmud means, it means perhaps more of the legal principles and the background and for the arguments. Mishnah, much more rote memorization of legal statements. And Rabbeinu Tam says, our Talmud Bavli, now that we have the Talmud Bavli, the Babylonian Talmud, it contains all three together. It has Psukim from the Tanakh, it has Mishnayot from the Mishnah, basic legal statements, and then it has all of the argumentation back and forth. So really a person could be fulfilling that obligation to divide their time evenly between those three by studying only Talmud Bavli. So here Rashbam is also noting from this sort of a tradition that there's a greater significance to studying oral Torah. Put that aside for now. But because earlier generations spent their time studying oral Torah, they spent their time studying Midrashim, and they didn't focus on the Pshat mitoch kach, lo hurgalu kol kach bepashtut shel mikraot. They didn't spend their time focusing on the Pshat, the plain meaning of the text. Ukida'amrin b'Masechet Shabbat. Just like now, again, he's going to quote the Gemara from Masechet Shabbat that we've heard a number of times. Havina bar tamnei sari shnin. I was 18 years old. V'garsinen kol Talmuda, and I had studied the entire Talmud, the entire Mishnayot perhaps, and I had never understood, Rav Kahana said, I reached the age of 18 and I was well versed, fully studied the Talmud, and I had never yet understood the fact that the verses do not depart from their plain meaning, and therefore the Pshat was to a certain extent forgotten in the Talmud times. The rabbis of the Talmud were focused on the Midrash and focused on Halacha and focused on oral Torah. They didn't spend enough of their time, perhaps, in Rashbam's modest critique. He's careful to be respectful, but he says, look, earlier generations didn't study the Pshat as much, but it is important. They knew it was important, but they didn't spend their time doing it. And therefore, he says, now I have to raise a question against Rashi. I have to take on my grandfather. Because, fine, right until now, so far, he's justified the study of Pshat, and I would say, great, Rashi wrote us a Pshat commentary. So why do I need Rashbam? And Rashbam says, V'gam Rabbeinu Shlomo avi imi. So Rabbi Shlomo, my mother's father, Meir Einei Golah, he illuminated the eyes of the diaspora, referring particularly perhaps to the Ashkenazi community. The Sephardic community still was absorbing much of the Torah from the Gaonim in Bavel, who really were the heads of the Talmud-centered approach, and the rabbis in Germany had maybe a different tradition. Early Ashkenazi rabbis often had this title, Me'er Einei HaGolah, those who illuminate the eyes of the diaspora, but here that's what he refers to his grandfather Rashi, really a beautiful honorific and really showing a lot of respect for Rashi at the same time. So he says, Rashi Shepiresh Torah Nevim Uktuvim. Rashi wrote commentaries on the entire Tanakh, Torah, and the prophets, and the Ktuvim, the writings, the Hagiographia. Natan Leiv Lefaresh Pshuto Shel Mikra, and his whole purpose, he set out, his goal was to write a commentary explaining the Pshat of the Tanakh. Perhaps also certain books of Tanakh, Rashi spends more focus on Pshat rather than Midrash. Other books of Tanakh, he's more interested in the Drash. He brings Drashot that he thinks are significant as well. I encourage you to see the Rashi video about that in more depth. Ve'af ani Shmuel b'Rebbe Meir choteno, and I'm Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Meir, who was his son-in-law. So Rashi, as far as we know, only had daughters. One of Rashi's daughters married Rabbi Meir, who was one of Rashi's students, or somewhat one of Rashi's students, and therefore Rashbam, the oldest son from that marriage. So Rashbam is really Rashi's oldest grandson. And he says, Nitvakachti imo velefanav. I disagreed with Rashi. I can imagine sitting around in Rashi's yeshiva, in Rashi's home, studying Tanakh, studying together, him with his grandchildren, perhaps him with his sons-in-law and his daughters, his whole family. There's perhaps a joke about that goes around the story. Who was the first one to learn Chumash with Rashi? Were Rashi's daughters. I don't mean to point toward the Rashi's daughters' books, which is a whole discussion in and of themselves. I disagreed with him in his presence and before him. V'hodali, he admitted to me. Rashi agreed with me. I'm the young upstart grandson, and still he agreed with me. She'ilu hayalo pnai. If he had more free time, perhaps as Rashi got older, he didn't have as much time to write commentaries, or he was busy with other work. He was writing his Talmud commentary, perhaps. She'ilu hayalo pnai. If he had the free time, hayat sarich lasod perushim acherim. He would write new commentaries. Why? Lefi hapshatot hamitchadshim b'chol yom, because there are new insights, there are new pshatot, new pshat that is developed or is thought of each and every day. New ideas in Tanakh that are innovated. It's really a beautiful idea from Rashbam. On the one hand, he's telling you, I'm trying to get to the pshat, the understanding that there is one simple interpretation of the text, one plain meaning of the text that makes sense. And at the same time, he recognizes through his appreciation of multivocality of the text, a range of interpretations, a range of possibilities, that actually each and every day a new understanding could be developed, which could be an even better pshat, an even closer understanding of the text. If our job as human beings is to try to understand the text of the Torah and the meaning of the Torah, then for Rashbam, each and every day we're making strides and improvements in that study and in that interpretation. And therefore, with Rashbam's study, he felt, even though Rashi, and this is what he's relaying Rashi's own words, Rashi felt, as much as my commentary, Rashi's commentary on the Torah, conveyed the pshat meaning, Rashi, I wish I had written new commentaries. I wish I had written down my later insights, because they're even more pshat than the earlier commentaries. And therefore Rashbam feels justified in disagreeing with Rashi, because Rashi agreed with him. Rashi agreed with him that the idea that pshat was not to be contained within one commentary, but that the idea that the pshat, the simplest meaning or the plain meaning of the text, contextual meaning of the text, could be conveyed and better improved and expanded in later generations, and even in one's own lifetime, later additions and later emendations could lead to new understandings. And that's really, I think, an inspirational message we can take from Rashbam as well, to try to bring to our own learning, to try to say, look, each new idea that we have, each new insight that someone develops is something unfolding, is something new, and it can be a development in the world of Torah. That's something that mitchadesh bechol yom. It's a new idea that comes about every single day. New pieces of Torah are coming into the world, and that's the significance of Rashbam's commentary, to take the significance of new pieces of Torah and bring them to his readers. And that's something that we should each try to take the Torah that we learn and we understand and bring it to other people as well. One other point, last December, ArtScroll Publishing, I don't mean to be bringing too many things about ArtScroll, but Rashbam's commentary was the subject of a bit of a blog back and forth. Professor Mark Shapiro noted that in the new ArtScroll edition of Mikraot Gedolot, which contains Rashbam's commentary to the Chumash, so in that Chumash, the comments, some of Rashbam's more controversial comments were edited out, and he wrote them a letter, and there was a back and forth about that. So I encourage, if you're interested, to read that on the Sfarim blog from Professor Mark Shapiro. Thank you so much. I hope to have another video up relatively soon, hopefully this week. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.